Good evening and thank you for joining us. The federal election campaign is now officially underway after Prime Minister Justin Trudeau met with Governor General Mary Simon yesterday morning to dissolve the 43rd Parliament of Canada and trigger a national vote. Despite the sudden announcement, Thunder Bay area candidates are all raring to go. We'll start things off tonight with those running in Thunder Bay Superior North. William Dougal has the story.
Two-term MP and Health Minister Patty Heidi was facing 4 declared challengers for her seat in Thunder Bay Superior North. She says she is always ready for an election and hopes everything she has accomplished will get her re-elected for a third term.
Listen, first of all, it's been an incredible honor to be the Member of Parliament for the past 6 years for Thunder Bay Superior North, and we've been able to achieve so much together, despite the fact that the last 2 of those years we've been living through a global pandemic. We've brought a lot of investment to the Northern Ontario region.
Haidu's NDP challenger Chantal Bryson says that she wants to make big changes that do not depend on tax hikes against everyday working-class people.
I really want to see the economic and social recovery not rest on the backs of small business and families and workers. We're going to rest the economic and social recovery on the ultra-rich with a 1% tax on anyone with over $10 million in wealth.
First-time Conservative candidate Joshua Taylor says that because of the drastic age difference between himself and the other candidates, he can help bring a voice to the voiceless in Ottawa.
I feel like I appeal to a different demographic, and I think I can get youth heard in this upcoming election, but also I'm from the rural community of Geraldton, and I feel like typically we haven't had our voices heard. So I think I can represent both youth and the rural population on top of typical conservatism.
Green Party candidate Amanda Motajong says that while the current pandemic is no time for an election, it is time to start providing for the people.
The people in Canada really do not want an election at this time, especially as we're going into a 4th wave of COVID. My goal in this is to bring attention to a lot of the people that have been left behind for the last year and a half with all of this, much like the people of Afghanistan were left behind on the tarmac yesterday as they were trying to flee Afghanistan as the Prime Minister was calling this election.
People's Party of Canada candidate Rick Daines, who lives in Geraldton, says he believes everyone needs to get involved to effect change, and his part is running as candidate for the PPC. William Dougal, TBT News.
Meanwhile, in Thunder Bay Rainy River, the incumbent has been on the job for less than 2 years. With just one returning opponent, a field of mostly newcomers will be looking to unseat Liberal Marcus Pulowski. Corey Nordstrom reports.
Looking to once again be named the Member of Parliament for Thunder Bay Rainy River is Marcus Pulowski. After tallying over 14,000 votes in 2019, the incumbent says he is ready for a re-election campaign, even if he prefers the job itself to the campaign trail.
I'm a far better MP than I am a politician. I enjoy doing the constituency work. I enjoy representing the interests of the people of Thunder Bay. I enjoy doing national stuff, occasionally even international stuff.
2 years ago, the Conservatives had the second most votes in the riding, but a different name in Adelina Pecchia will be on the ballot this time around, and a new leader of the party with Erin O'Toole at the helm.
Conservative Party is ready. It's the same in the sense that we are dedicated. We're a dedicated people. We're a dedicated leader. We have dedicated leadership, so we are always dedicated to serving Canadians.
Yuksem Wan is the lone repeat name on the ballot aside from the incumbent. She believes that the NDP can regain control of the riding for the first time since 2014.
When I ran in 2019, we were so close in our riding, and then we've just been building the momentum on that. The NDP federally have done a wonderful job at making sure throughout the pandemic, throughout the 2 years, that the people are represented and taken care of.
The Green Party's Tracy McKinnon says her focus lies on a number of hot-button issues.
The residential school children that have been found and will be found and continue to be found, and all those that won't be found, I think that's hugely important. Of course, climate, the way our Canada is on fire lately with all the forest fires.
Maxime Bernier's People's Party of Canada is entering its second election since formation, with Nipigon's Alan Abbott taking up their mantle in Thunder Bay Rainy River.
Canada is naturally a centrist and the only centrist party is the People's Party. They call themselves, or some of them, like Maxime Bernier says he's conservative, but there's no conservative really in Canada. Never was, or not for a long time.
Corey Nordstrom, TVT News.
And we'll have more on the federal election coming up a little later in the news hour. Meantime, Environment Canada has issued a heat warning for nearly all of northern Ontario, as daily high temperatures will be hovering at or above 30 degrees for the next 4 days. Meanwhile, forest fires continue to blaze here in the northwest, with the current tally sitting at 111 active fires, and there were close to a dozen new fires in the Fort Frances and Thunder Bay district yesterday, likely due to lightning strikes. Firefighting crews continue to battle between 10 and 20 fires daily, and 16 blazes remain not under control. The largest inferno is still Kenora 51, which has engulfed over 200,000 hectares. Crews who have been fighting that blaze for the past 2 weeks are now being cycled out for some rest, while additional crews supported by water bombers and helicopters will take their place. With no relief from Mother Nature in the immediate forecast, Fire Information Officer Jonathan Scott says the fire hazard remains at high to extreme throughout the southern half of the region.
So over the next few days, we're going to have, sunny conditions. It'll be fairly windy. Winds could be anywhere from, 20 to 30 kilometers. So we're thinking that we'll, keep the forest fire hazard high to extreme for the next few days. I mean, there is rain in kind of the long-term forecast. It always depends, again, where it lands, how much we get.
Meanwhile, the restricted fire zone has been lifted for the area east and north of Lake Nipigon, but Scott says restrictions for the rest of northwestern Ontario will remain in place until further notice. Chaos erupted at Kabul's international airport earlier today as thousands of Afghans are desperately trying to flee the country ahead of Taliban taking control. Several Thunder Bay residents who served in Afghanistan are growing concerned about their allies who are being left to try and escape on their own. Alex Flood reports.
The images are frightening and the situation is unimaginable. The Taliban swept into Kabul on Sunday after President Ashraf Ghani fled the nation, bringing a stunning end to a 2-decade campaign in which the U.S. and its allies had tried to transform Afghanistan. Robin Rickards, a Thunder Bay corporal who served 3 tours in Afghanistan during the mid to late 2000s, has been working to get former Afghani translators for the Allied forces out of the country.
Unless they are able to find a way safely to Pakistan, to our embassy where we have one official working, to get their process going, they're going to be stuck there until the Taliban hunts them down one at a time and deals with them.
While some try to escape the country, many are left hiding in their homes as the Taliban have deployed fighters at major intersections. Chris Drews, who served twice in Afghanistan, expresses his difficulty trying to relate to such an unimaginable situation.
At least when we were there, we had NATO and ISAF, you know what I mean? You had some confidence in all the military abilities you had. Right now, they're on the run. The Taliban have the initiative. So that's really frightening for them.
The Taliban have seized nearly all of Afghanistan in just over a week. Todd Evans, a Kenora man who served in Afghanistan as a master bombardier, worries that the Taliban's revengeful behavior could have a devastating impact on those who remain displaced.
I'm not happy that the Taliban are taking over. And I could imagine in the future, there'll be many people fleeing Afghanistan again. And we'll see a lot more atrocities committed as the Taliban take their revenge on those who they feel have wronged them.
Alex Flood, TBT News.
The province is reporting another 526 new COVID-19 cases today. And with Ontario now in the grip of a 4th wave of the pandemic, there is growing pressure for measures to help stem the tide. Adding to the urgency is concern for the safety of students as they get set to return to class. Colin DeMello has more.
It's the new context for COVID-19's 4th wave. Cases might be rising, but Premier Doug Ford is trying to tamp down the concern.
As the doctors have said, cases will rise, cases will fall. But the doctors have also said that case counts don't mean what they used to because we have so many people vaccinated.
In fact, of the 526 new cases today, nearly 70% were in unvaccinated individuals. Those who didn't get a shot also make up the majority of people admitted to hospital or the ICU.
You know, this is very different than other waves. There is a viable solution to preserve our healthcare system, to keep people from dying. There were 0 people in the ICU yesterday who were fully vaccinated.
But the province is also feeling the pressure of the rising case counts, especially as students prepared to return to class.
The reality remains, despite all our incredible progress, we're not done with COVID yet. This is a virus that will exploit any opportunity, any weakness in the system, to mutate and become even more lethal.
Sources say the Premier will meet with his cabinet tonight to discuss mandatory vaccinations for healthcare and education workers, something that those sectors have been calling for, and something the Chief Medical Officer of Health has been privately pushing, sources say. But others in the medical field also believe the government needs to go further.
I think it's probably the time to use whatever measures we can to mitigate the spread. Let people have normal lives, go to restaurants, see other people. But having a 5,000 person concert or an event might be the time to stall on pushing that forward and keeping masks around a little bit more.
A delay that the government is reportedly considering.
Meantime, the Ford government has announced it will run COVID-19 vaccination clinics in or near schools before classes begin and during the first few weeks of the new school term. But the Thunder Bay District Health Unit says no decisions have been made yet regarding where the local school clinics will be set up. For now, the TBDHU strongly encourages all youth 12 to 17 years old and school staff who are not yet fully immunized to get their vaccine as soon as possible to help immunity levels prior to the start of school. The health unit says it continues to work with local school boards to ensure access to COVID-19 vaccines for all eligible students and staff. Details on any school-related immunization clinics will be provided as the information becomes available. And a parent in Vaughan, Ontario has been given a hefty fine for sending her child to daycare while having symptoms of COVID-19, leading to an outbreak at the facility. 15 children from the Tiny Treasures Learning and Childcare Centre have now tested positive for the virus. York Public Health says the incident occurred on August 3rd. They say the parent knew the child would not pass the screening test, but decided to send them anyway. The parent was fined $770 along with a victim surcharge for a total of $880. The Sacred Fire that's been traveling across Thunder Bay and surrounding area now has an end date that will see the fire put out in October as part of a 2-day celebration. The Sacred Fire that currently sits at the Roots to Harvest Garden has been burning for a total of 75 days. The fire has moved many times all over Thunder Bay to honor the hundreds of children who died at Canada's residential schools. The decision was made by the local group for October 1st to be the last day that the fire will burn, as volunteers are going to be heading back to work and to school. Firekeeper Esther Maud says this was a one-of-a-kind experience that no one will forget, and says the fire will continue to live on as the embers will be spread to fires across Canada.
We definitely don't want this to ever be forgotten, because this is a real thing that has happened. We all knew about it, but it just, with the findings of the children, it just became more of a real thing for Canadians to really open their eyes and know how real this is.
Sacred Fire still has 7 more moves until it reaches its final destination on Mount McKay. A powwow will be held there to celebrate the final 2 days of the fire. The City of Thunder Bay has issued an apology for some words and graphics used in a recent education campaign for the new roundabout on Edward Street. The public event coming up this Saturday was originally dubbed the Roundabout Rodeo on the city's social media sites. The new look intersection was designed to include a medicine wheel to recognize the city's Indigenous population. City Manager Norm Gale is apologizing and says city officials understand that using the word rodeo with a cowboy theme was insensitive and poor judgment. He adds the city is committed to reconciliation with Indigenous peoples. The Aircraft Rescue Division at the Thunder Bay Airport has some shiny new equipment. The new fire trucks came with a price tag of $2 million and are now being tested out by fire crews. William Dougal has more.
The firefighters at the Thunder Bay International Airport are jumping for joy as replacements for their 1994 Oshkosh fire trucks have arrived. The Thunder Bay Airport Authority put out a tender in 2019 to replace their aging fire trucks and accepted their final bid from Rosenbauer America. Manager of Airport Services Ryan Brading says that due to changes in federal legislature, Ottawa was able to play a big role in acquiring these new vehicles.
We were able to work with Transport Canada and we were able to receive a fund called ACAP. It's the Airport Capital Improvement Program. We've never been eligible for ACAP before, and with some parameters that were amended by Transport Canada, these trucks came fully funded by the federal government to the tune of just over $2 million.
The 36,000-pound vehicles come equipped with a wide selection of tools that make the response by the firefighting team more dynamic and high-tech compared to their typical abilities. New additions include a light tower, a remote-controlled FLIR camera, 2 mounted turrets, and a whopping 1,500-gallon water tank. Operations Specialist Morgan Moore explains the benefits of the new gadgets.
FLIR cameras now installed up on the roof of the trucks, so thermal imaging cameras allows us to get a good scene size up when approaching a scene. Our bumper turret there, it's called an HRET turret, so it actually extends downwards towards the ground to allow you a lower base of attack when attacking such fuel fires or whatnot, or any type of incident that occur underneath an aircraft. So say you have a fuel spill and you want to put a foam blanket onto it in order to cover it, more or less mitigate the chance of it igniting.
The impressive vehicles behind me will be in full operation following a month-long training session. William Dougal, TBT News.
And the Thunder Bay waterfront got a bit of a touch-up yesterday as EarthCare and Eco Superior teamed up to host a litter cleanup day. The cleanup took place from 9 in the morning till noon with officials set up near the marina office handing out collection bags and tools to grab the refuse. Everything collected is recorded on data cards to find out which items are the most discarded in the area so they can hopefully bring about a change in community behaviors. Program coordinator Melissa Davidson says some areas see more litter than others.
It really depends on where you are. So in a space like the marina, it is pretty well kept, but there are areas, especially where the waves crash in, where litter can kind of accumulate on the shoreline and things like that. So it really depends on a lot of things, but even something like small, like a cigarette butt, we're actually finding lots of those down here today.
A new addition to the cleaning effort was also in action called the Sea Bin, which sits off the marina pier collecting litter that floats to the surface. It's an initiative of the Great Lakes Plastic Cleanup. EarthCare coordinator Amy Coombs says the sea bins are a great addition to cleaning the waterfront.
The Great Lakes are a life source for many organisms and fish and everything. We really want to know what's getting in there, because if the fish are accumulating that, we want to know what kind of litter is in the lake and try and keep that out of our lake systems.
Now this coming week, Eco Superior will be going along the North Shore doing a cleaning along with the yearly Spring Up to Clean Up program in partnership with the City of Thunder Bay. And we thank you folks for your efforts.
Yes, we do. Listen, Fiona, no sense trying to be cute with this today. It's the lead's